Out like a lion sale. Get 30% off clothing for men, women, and children. 30% off all sheets and towels. 30% off all furniture, including wicker and patio. 30% off all lighting, curtains, blinds, and rugs. We'll eat 60% off the price of all fine jewelry. And take another 30% off your fine jewelry purchase at the register. Ames. Out like a lion sale. It's one sale that's not for the sheepish. Thursday only.
Floyd, more paste picante sauce.
There you go.
Floyd, this ain't paste.
Well, so what?
Paste is made in San Antonio.
By folks who know what picante sauce should taste like.
Hey, this stuff's made in New York City.
New York City!
Pick up the original. Pick up the pace.
Maybe we were a bit too hard on Floyd. Nah.
See what some students are doing with the food in their lunchboxes. The story tomorrow at 6.
Breast cancer,
Huntington's disease,
Tay-Sachs.
It all comes down to genes, absolutely. I thought, my God,
are you going to live or are you going to die?
Tonight on 48 Hours.
Genetics.
What if you could change the future?
It's scary. I'm excited. I'm going to be the guinea pig.
Meet parents who made a miracle.
Brittany.
And history.
I would know before I was pregnant that the baby would be normal.
Genetics.
Kind of like looking into a crystal ball.
This is the morning. This is it.
Two brothers face a fatal legacy.
Huntington's disease. I want to know whether or not I'm going to develop this illness or not.
And a woman hunts for clues.
You know what this gene is?
In a deadly family tree.
When people got breast cancer in our family, they were dying.
Oh, that gene is in our freezer. We just don't know which tube it's in.
You can correct the gene, you can cure the disease.
Why we are marked for life.
Genetics
is a miracle to me.
Perhaps you can see it in your children's eyes. A family resemblance that might remind you of your own parents or grandparents. But what you can't see might be just as telling. Genes, our blueprint of traits and tendencies, carried from one generation to the next. What if you could read that blueprint and predict the future? Know what hair color or even what diseases your children might have? What if you could even alter your own destiny? How could that knowledge be used and abused? You are about to meet some who have taken the first steps into this brave new world.
Our little miracle, our special gift from God.
Renee Abshire is not just another proud new mother showing off her baby.
She's so perfect.
She and her husband David thought they could never have what everyone else takes for granted. A perfectly healthy baby.
It just seems so unreal that I'm holding this child. It really does.
This is not Renee's first child. 8 years ago, she had a baby girl named Megan.
And I remember holding Megan just like this and the excitement that me and David felt. And about 7 months down the road, that excitement turned to total horror and devastation when Megan began to stop doing the things that a normal child would do.
Megan had Tay-Sachs, a rare genetic disease.
And I remember at night I would hold her and I would just cry. And I would say, God, what is going on to our happy family?
There is no treatment for Tay-Sachs. It is always fatal.
In that last year, it was like every cough was a struggle for her. Every breath that she took was a struggle. We literally prayed and prayed, God, whatever you need to do for her, do it now, do it now.
Megan died in 1989.
She just took a deep breath and she was gone.
She was only 3 years old. The Abshires never suspected they were carriers of the deadly gene, and neither did their doctors. Tay-Sachs is most commonly associated with descendants of Eastern European Jews, And this is a predominantly Christian community in the middle of rural Louisiana. But the Abshires discovered that that rare disease wasn't so rare in this area, that over the years, lots of babies had died from what was known here as the lazy baby sickness.
It wasn't until after Megan passed away that we realized that there was 3 other couples from the same town that David's from that had children with Tay-Sachs.
One of the couples was Kurt and Gail McClellan, whose son was dying.
We both looked at each other and I told her, I said, Gail, I said, we have to make a difference. And she looked at me and she said, Renee, she said, we need to do something.
So together they organized a Tay-Sachs screening.
We went door to door and we passed out flyers
to see if any other friends and neighbors had the fatal gene.
And I'm telling you, there was about 400 people that showed up and the results were astounding.
In fact, 1 in every 13 carried the Tay-Sachs gene. The story made the national news.
Thousands of Louisiana Cajuns are living in fear of losing their children, and there is nothing they can do about it.
That would have been the end of the story if it weren't for Dr. Gary Hodgen.
There was Dan Rather telling about a small community in southwestern Louisiana.
Hodgen is a research director at Eastern Virginia Medical School. For more than 10 years, he worked to perfect a new technology to prevent Tay-Sachs.
There were lots of times along the way that I gave up mentally, and then you have to get your toughness together again to overcome the next difficulty.
Hodgen was hoping that one of these Louisiana families would be willing to try the procedure for the first time.
They decided that they needed to contact us. And he started telling me about this procedure, and I can remember thinking, what is he talking about? Because it seems so far-fetched to me, you know.
What Hodgen told them about was a new kind of test tube baby that would be screened for Tay-Sachs as a tiny embryo in the lab before it was implanted in the mother's womb.
Our technology then allows us to know which of the embryos that the family has obtained by in vitro fertilization care, which will be well children which could have Tay-Sachs.
He explained to me that I would know before I was pregnant that the baby would be normal.
I thought, man, this could almost be a guarantee 100%.
But the procedure had never been tried with humans.
Right, and I said, but wait a minute. I said, do you know what this means? I'm going to be the guinea pig. You know, I said, I'm going to be the one that they're working on, experimenting.
A few doctors have tried this technique successfully with other genetic diseases. But some newborns that were supposed to be born healthy were not.
We're human beings, so we're fallible.
But as long as there are some mistakes being made, should this be used on families?
Well, the biggest mistake is not taking the technology forward.
The Abshires thought it over for 3 years. Then they decided to go ahead.
I think these people are very courageous. They're beyond the word brave.
The procedure was done at the Jones Institute in Virginia.
We were able to evaluate 4 embryos of the Abshires. 3 of them had only normal genes.
Those 3 embryos, free of Tay-Sachs, were transferred to the mother's womb.
And there was 3 that were transferred, and this one to Brittany.
Now, what did you feel when Brittany was born?
A joy beyond words.
When Brittany's birth made the news,
there's the baby.
Linda and Don Meebrewer read all about it in a Missouri newspaper.
When we seen this article, we just about did cartwheels.
They figured it out.
Yeah.
God said, well, here it is. Go for it.
And they did.
And we hopped in a car and came.
They headed straight for the Jones Institute.
I'm in here.
Great.
It began like any doctor's visit.
And both of you have been tested?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
With a family history.
My oldest sister was tested.
Except this family's history showed dozens of carriers of the Tay-Sachs gene.
3 of the 4 carriers.
But no one who actually had the disease.
If someone has one gene, well then, they're perfectly fine. They just pass them on, as you 2 well know.
Even the Meebrewers' first child was fine.
And then your next child?
Little girl.
Okay. And is she the daughter that?
She is the daughter that passed away from Tay-Sachs.
Okay, and how old was she when she died?
20 months old.
Okay. And her name is?
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
They weren't willing to take the 1 in 4 chance of having another Tay-Sachs baby.
Did you see the lab at all?
No. So the new technique looked like a godsend.
Okay.
That is, until they got to the lab to see how it was done.
So it happens all in a little dish the embryo would be in. I have a little videotape just to give you an idea of what.
This is in the first 3 days after the egg has been fertilized.
Here are all the little cells of the embryo. Yeah.
This is the stage then at which we can remove one of the cells.
So each embryo would go through this procedure.
They almost all go on and grow as they normally would have.
Oh, that's neat. That could be a baby. Potentially a baby, I guess.
And it's off to another lab, where a section of the cell is allowed to grow until there's enough of it to see on a sheet of gel.
Here we see the gel pattern where the inheritance is only of mutant genes from both mother and father.
But what happens to that pre-embryo?
It is allowed to die and is discarded.
It was our first time of actually talking about in vitro fertilization to begin with. And I don't know what to say.
I don't either.
That, I guess, started me really to think about the ethics side of it.
Understand that this still is your choice. Whatever you decide is the correct decision.
Well, we want you to know we won't take it lightly.
No.
You know, it would be wonderful to let Mother Nature take its course and not have to utilize procedures like that, but we don't have that option.
So if you decide not to go through it, you can just mail it back to us.
We have to really dig deep and see how we actually feel about doing something that is a little out of Mother Nature's hands.
That was a hard decision. The biggest thing for me was not wanting to interfere in what I felt like would be playing God.
In the end, the Abshires' decision was based on their faith in God as much as their faith in science.
I really believe that life begins in the uterus. I believe that what they're doing in the lab is potential life. The pre-embryos were potential life, but they were not life until they attached to the uterus. And God knew exactly which one he wanted for us, and that was Brittany.
Isn't she beautiful?
Without this procedure, there is no hope. But with this procedure, there is hope.
The Cadillac Seville SLS. With its 270 horsepower Northstar V8, it passes by everything. And now for a limited time, Seville SLS also lets you pass by monthly payments. For a single upfront payment of $12,405, you're in command for 24 months. And by making all your payments in advance, you save $1,771. The Cadillac Seville SLS with Smart Lease Plus. It's hard to pass up. Cadillac Seville SLS, creating a higher standard.
You like milk and it shows. You like milk and it shows. You like milk and it shows. You got baby soft skin. You like milk and it shows. And a big healthy grin. You like milk and it shows.
Milk, it does a body good with vitamin A to help keep skin smooth, calcium for strong bones, and protein to help build muscle.
You like milk and it shows. It does the body good.
Here are 3 premium flat latex wall paints and new Everclean, only from Sherwin-Williams, a paint that really holds up against stains. We'll take tough stains like grease, red wine, tea, grape juice, coffee, mustard, and let them set overnight. Everclean is a flat latex wall paint with a non-porous finish, so it cleans off easily. Stains don't stand a chance with new Everclean. Sherwin-Williams.
Recently, I switched pain relievers from Tylenol to Advil. You see, I got these really pounding headaches. I found 2 Advil worked better than 2 Tylenol gel caps. For my tough headaches, Advil just works better. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
People who really understand money carry the Discover card. Only Discover card offers cashback bonus award. So it's the choice of people who really know the drill. It pays to discover.
Tonight on The Late Show, Dance with Martin Short. And tomorrow, Dave's got a date with Madonna.
Oh, I love that lady.
Every time you get in your car, are you making a simple mistake that could kill you?
She thought that she was safe.
Also, you've heard what the Nation of Islam is selling.
Hitler was a genius.
Who's buying it?
Jews are hook-nosed, bagel-eating, lox-eating imposters. Isn't that embarrassing?
Eye to Eye with Connie Chung, Thursday.
Almost any disease you can think of has a hereditary component, even things like alcoholism.
This is Dr. Francis Collins.
Certainly things like coronary artery disease or high blood pressure, some of the major mental illnesses, diabetes, cancers.
He is director of a government project to locate and identify all the genes in the human body.
And that makes up a series of about 100,000 genes.
It's called the Human Genome Project.
In the long run, by the end of the 15 years, we think this project will cost a total of $3 billion.
Exciting, dramatic for you, but why should the taxpayer who's paying for this care about it, and why should he feel that he's getting value for dollar?
We spend so much of our effort now trying to treat people who already have very far advanced disease, and we're always sort of behind the 8 ball and we're not quite catching up. My dream is to see that change, where we in fact are able to keep people well, and that I think is worth a lot of investment.
Give me an example of such a medical consequence.
Perhaps the most exciting development of the last few months has been the discovery of a gene, which happens to be on chromosome 2. That matters to me. I don't expect it to matter to anybody else, but that's where it is, which is responsible for a significant fraction of colon cancer. There are 1 million people, it turns out, in the U.S. who have an altered copy of this particular gene. If you're one of them, your risk of getting colon cancer is about 80% in your lifetime. And this is a disease that we know how to cure. If we knew who those 1 million people were, we could probably save most of their lives. The gene discovery opens the door to being able to do that.
A test for this colon cancer could be less than 2 years away.
Is this the family album here?
Frank and I.
Every family has its history.
So this is shortly after you were married?
Yeah, it was right after. Yeah.
Ida Goski of St. Paul, Minnesota, lost her husband Frank 11 years ago.
That's Frank and I, some years later, maybe about 20 years ago.
He died of Huntington's disease.
It wasn't until about 3-4 years before he passed away that we knew.
A crippling killer that runs in the family.
Yeah.
What were the symptoms out there of Huntington's disease?
He did a lot of moving with his feet, you know. Yeah, when he'd sit down, he'd be, moving them like that. Yeah. Out at Carver's Lake on a day like today.
And now it has struck the next generation. Her oldest son, Roger, has been diagnosed as having this incurable disease.
I did fill out the application. Are you in pain now?
No, there's no pain. We have movements that we can't control. It also, I used to be able to articulate very well, but this also, it affects my speech, makes it slur my words.
An estimated 30,000 Americans have Huntington's disease, which strikes the middle-aged and takes its victims into a slow spiral toward death.
I mean, you don't know that I have that.
I know what you mean. That's the point.
So far, his brother Glenn has no symptoms.
I don't have any diagnosis.
But he knows he has a 50-50 chance of getting the disease.
Once a week, pizza.
When you're at risk, it's sort of like a clock quietly ticking in the background, and then all of a sudden the clock is ticking very loudly at this particular time in my life. Yeah. I want to know one way or the other whether or not I'm going to develop this illness or not. I needed to get this large weight, or what I call a monkey, off my back. I needed to know one way or the other, and all I know is it's a very deep personal decision that I and everyone else who is at risk has to make.
It was in March of 1993 that scientists made a dramatic breakthrough. They isolated the deadly Huntington's gene and developed a test for those at risk.
Testing for Huntington disease. Okay, we receive a tube of blood in a patient.
Glenn has already been tested.
So tomorrow morning, Glenn is going to meet with his doctor, and he's going to see the results of something just like this.
Just like this.
And if he does not carry the Huntington's disease gene, his gel would have shown a pattern similar to this one. If he does carry the Huntington's disease gene, the report will say that his gel showed this type of a pattern.
So basically this right here is what good news looks like.
Yes.
And that's bad.
Not so good news, yes.
The looks I get is like, why are you doing this? Wouldn't you want to kind of keep that a secret? I need to do this for myself and for my family, so that if, again, if I do have this illness, I can deal with it.
This test can be phenomenal, and it can be totally devastating.
Dr. Nancy Wexler, whose own mother died of Huntington's, helped locate the gene with her research in Venezuela.
There's never been such an intense concentration of Huntington's disease in one place, anywhere else in the world.
These are actually the people that helped find the gene for Huntington's disease.
Even after the long search for this gene, Wexler says testing may not always be a good idea.
What's most important is to let somebody discover their heart. What's going to be best for them? What's going to be best for their family?
In the case of a couple, they're married and they know they have this in their family, and they want to have children. Now, to not get tested when this test is available, is that not selfish?
You don't promise your children that you're not going to give them some disease when you have them. You don't promise your kids you're not going to get cancer, you're not going to get blown over by a truck.
So who drove? Kristen and DJ Goski know that their father, Roger, has the disease, and that they may be next.
Right now, it's not relevant to me. I'm only 23. The test doesn't pertain to me as I see it. I want to know that I didn't have it, but the downside of knowing that I did have it would outweigh the upside of the other. So.
I definitely want to find out.
Do you?
Yeah. I don't think it wouldn't hurt me. I think it'd help me out. I'd work harder to get what I want to get done in life, because I know when I get older, maybe I won't be able to do the same things.
So it's my kids' choice, you know. They have to decide.
When you have a cure, you have to know who to give it to. Then the test really makes sense. Until that time, then I think it's what works best for each person. It's an individual choice.
Hi. This is the morning. This is it.
Indeed, the gene change that we associate with Huntington's is present in the family. When we look at your blood, you have the two genes. One of them has 7.
Dr. Martha Nance is Glenn's neurologist.
And those are both in the normal range. And so the news that we have for you is that, as best as we know, you don't have the gene that causes Huntington's.
Thanks for telling me right away. I've been waiting so long. Thanks. That's wonderful news.
Do you have questions?
Do you guys have any questions?
No, that's...
If anyone needs it, we have. We'll see you later.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again.
It's good to meet you.
Nice to
and we'd
meet
be
you.
happy to see you again anytime, too.
Appreciate that.
If that's possible.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I take it you must have known the news was good?
No.
Okay, yeah. I don't have it, so I'm very happy. Very, very happy, so.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a relief, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
It is kind of sad, though. I mean, for Ride and stuff, I think, in a way.
What do you think, big brother?
You're a lucky young man. That's good. That's good. Hey. Just don't feel guilty, you know. That's the worst thing you could do. Well, at least the balance is still pretty good, you know.
You bet it is, yeah. You bet it is. He and I will remain very, very close, and I'm looking forward to the years that he and I have together as brothers.
Did you know Campbell's has over 30 varieties of soup that are 98% fat-free? Which means just about every day you can look forward to a well-balanced meal with a different bowl of Campbell's soup. And the best part is, not only are they less than 90 calories, they're also delicious. So you're not missing anything, except fat.
So eat your heart out.
Campbell's. Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Look to us for special delivery. Call us. We'll arrange to pick you up at your home, office, or repair shop. That's special delivery. That's Enterprise.
Cracker Barrel Cheddar, winner of its 40th gold medal for full cheddar taste that comes from careful aging. But the biggest winner is you, with Cracker Barrel Cheddar from Kraft, judged to be the best.
Where are sex offenders sent after they've served their time? How about your hometown?
We're not going to stand for it, nor should we stand for it.
Many towns are saying, not in our backyard, so the question remains, where are you going to put them? Eye on America investigates tomorrow on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather and Connie Chung.
2 generations of cop.
Your granddad's pretty spectacular.
Shut up. 2 perspectives on crime.
If you can't identify the victim, you'll never identify the killer. First rule of homicide.
But when the new wave and the old school join forces...
Get a Xerox machine? Says you lied, Alan. Damnedest thing I ever saw.
A new breed of justice is born.
Could learn a lot from you. Are you putting me on?
Get set for one of television's most anticipated premieres tomorrow on CBS. Traps.
Self-defense or murder?
White cops, black suspect.
What if you had to decide?
The kid will kill again.
James Earl Jones in an all-new Picket Fences Friday.
Fine. Next patient is a 49-year-old.
61-year-old.
A 56-year-old.
She noticed a lump in the 12 o'clock position of her breast.
She has about a 1.6 by 1.4 centimeter mass.
Recurrent cancer.
Positive breast cancer.
Well, I just found out I had cancer.
I think maybe you should look at the spots on my chest. But
last year in the United States, about 170,000 new cases of breast cancer.
Some deep breaths.
It's not just a word, breast cancer. It's people that we see every day. How about your energy level?
Dr. Barbara Weber is a breast cancer doctor and a genetic hunter.
It all comes down to genes, absolutely. No question. So do you know what this gene is?
She is hunting for one single gene that's responsible for passing breast cancer from one generation to the next. A gene believed responsible for up to 15% of all breast cancers.
I mean, we've got 10 genes in the lab. Any one of them could be it.
Weber's group here at the University of Michigan Medical Center is part of a coordinated effort involving researchers in 5 different states.
So you think the gene that you're looking for is sitting in a test tube?
Well, that gene is in our freezer. No doubt about it, but we just don't know which tube it's in.
When they find the gene, and they do say when, not if, what then? It will not be a cure for breast cancer, and while the discovery of the gene may answer some questions, it will raise more.
We don't know what this means. If we could say, yes, you have this gene and we know how to fix it, or we know how to fix what will happen to you as a result of it, that's pretty straightforward. We don't really have good answers for these people, what they should do, how often should they get mammograms, when are they going to get their cancer, if they get their cancer, are they going to die from it, should they have prophylactic surgeries? These are questions that we can't answer, and so...
It's almost like science has given you the ability to have this knowledge before it's given you the ability to know what to do with it.
Right. Once we have the gene and we can study it, we can start to answer some of these questions.
8 members of my family have been diagnosed with breast cancer.
We'll call her Janet.
It's like every time you turned around, somebody in the family was developing breast cancer.
We'll call her younger sister, Susan.
And you thought, well, when am I going to be next?
We can't identify them because they're afraid of discrimination by employers and insurance companies. But they are a family of 3 sisters, shown here in happier days, before breast cancer killed the oldest.
I was about 85 when my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer.
And changed the lives of the others forever.
I was diagnosed in 1992.
You begin to feel like your days are numbered, maybe.
This is most of the family here.
In her search for the gene, Dr. Weber has followed the march of breast cancer through this family.
We have about 4 generations now. Everybody who has cancer has some portion of a black mark on here.
While they have not yet found the gene, researchers can now detect abnormal genetic patterns, markers.
The people who have these stars carry the marker.
When people got breast cancer in our family, they were dying.
This one is a carrier and has breast cancer and has already died of breast cancer.
I mean, we were no longer naive to the disease.
This one is a carrier and has breast cancer.
It's terrifying. My only thought was, I just want to live through this.
I knew right then that I wanted to have my breasts off now. It was only a matter of days or months before I was going to develop breast cancer if I hadn't already.
You knew that?
I knew that.
Was there any doubt in your mind?
No doubt in my mind that I was going to be the next.
This sister is not a carrier. I knew that she didn't have it. She didn't know that she didn't have it.
And Susan was about to have a double mastectomy. How far away were you from the surgeon's knife? 10 days.
10 days.
And you went into Dr. Weber.
I mean, first of all, I went back in and asked her whether she wanted the information.
And I said yes. And I remember taking a deep breath, and she told me that I didn't have the marker. And I couldn't believe it. I said, what? We were just all shaking. My husband was shaking. I mean, it was just so overwhelming. It's so hard.
Doctors cannot guarantee that Susan will not get breast cancer. She has the same odds as most American women, roughly 12% of whom will get it. But for women like Susan's sister Janet, who carry the marker, the odds increase to a staggering 86%. Sister has cancer.
And she's lost a sister.
2 brothers carry the marker. She's the only one in this family without the marker. Is it a matter of luck, or is there some scientific reason that she would be the only...
No, it's totally luck. I mean, it's a flip of the coin.
She gets her life basically because of the flip of a genetic coin?
Absolutely. And her sister got breast cancer because of the flip of a genetic coin.
How about you, Janet? Are you angry at all that you weren't the lucky one?
I'm angry that I passed the gene on.
She passed the family marker on to her daughter, now 19 and at risk.
I had a feeling that I would develop breast cancer. And before I found out my results, I was prepared to have my breasts removed.
That's a huge decision.
Definitely after I watched my aunt die and I watched my mother go through chemotherapy, I did not want to have to go through that.
For her, her breasts are nothing compared to having watched that and not wanting it to happen to her.
We have been given a gift. I think we're very fortunate to have some type of information to help make some decisions.
The family members say they would rather know if they have the marker.
At least we knew it, and we could do something about it.
In this case, bad news is better than no news.
It's kind of like looking into a crystal ball and seeing your future.
And soon, millions of other American women will be able to look into their futures. Once the breast cancer gene is found, women will be able to take a simple blood test, like the one for Huntington's disease, to determine if they have the gene.
Breast cancer is a very funny disease. It acts very different in different people.
I want to get most of the cancers.
Dr. Weber is relying on the gene to explain why breast cancer behaves the way it does.
One person will have a breast cancer that's treated, and 6 months later it's back, and a year later that person has died. Someone else will have a spot on a bone that sort of sits there for 10 years. So I think it'll teach us a lot, not just about inherited breast cancer, but about breast cancer as a whole. Absolutely.
Ahead on 48 Hours.
Are you going to live or are you going to die?
Marked for life.
My father died from Huntington's.
And paying a price.
The insurance companies are selecting for perfect people.
It's scary. They canceled Cameron. They wouldn't cover him.
And how 2 little boys could change the future.
You can correct the gene, you can cure the disease.
The Nissan Altima has more front headroom than a Mercedes E320. It also has more rear headroom, more rear leg room, and more overall room. Yet it's priced $20,000 less, which means with this luxury sedan, you'll be able to add a room. The Nissan Altima. It's time to expect more from a car.
My mother, she taught me how to live, and my father probably taught me how to die.
48 Hours will continue. This is CBS.
If you find doing business in a global economy somewhat puzzling, give us a call. Our programs might be just the shortcut you've been looking for. We think a lot about how to help business in New York. a state of mind.
As they say, March came in like a lion and out like a lamb. Well, not at Ames, because Thursday only is Ames Out Like a Lion sale. Get 30% off clothing for men, women, and children. 30% off all sheets and towels. 30% off all furniture, including wicker and patio. 30% off all lighting, curtains, blinds, and rugs. We'll eat 60% off the price of all fine jewelry and take another 30% off your fine jewelry purchase at the register. Ames Out Like a Lion sale. It's one sale that's not for the sheepish. Thursday only.
Ford quality is as good or better than anything you can buy.
Take Ford Escort. More repeat buyers and more Escorts still on the road than any car in its class.
Wake up! This is the 90s.
Now, lease an Escort for just $169 a month for 24 months with $1,316 down. This Escort is loaded. You get air, automatic, cassette, power steering, power mirrors, and more.
Ford dealers have every right to be proud of Ford quality, and you will too.
Coming up on WTBH 5 News at 11.
I'm Tracy Davidson.
And I'm Brian McGorman. The defense speaks out in the sudden infant death case that the DA turned into 5 cases of murder.
A new major push to help smokers learn how to kick the habit.
Will delinquent Syracuse taxpayers have to wear a scarlet letter?
And tomorrow's leaders get some inspiration from the leading women of today.
All the day's news, weather, and sports coming up on WTBH 5 News at 11.
Great food can come from anywhere, as long as the shredded natural cheese comes from Sargento of Wisconsin.
Hello, I'm Nancy Glass of American Journal, wishing a happy 200th birthday to Onondaga County.
Bonnie, look at me. There you go.
By anyone's standards,
It's a sweet boy.
Susan Poitras leads a busy life.
Okay, Bonnie.
She's a veterinary technician,
Hey, baby.
a mother,
You're gonna go with Miss Julie while she runs around town. And then
professional dog trainer, and a wife.
you know that picture of Daddy? Where did I stick that?
If she seems driven, well, she is.
My grandfather died when my father was 3.
She's got a lot she wants to do, and maybe only a little time.
His father died from Huntington's.
Susan's father died from Huntington's too.
If the gene that my father had is passed on to me, then I will have Huntington's. I know that most people don't die of Huntington's disease. Most people with Huntington's disease die from suicide.
I put ice cream in my mouth so I couldn't talk.
Sometimes that becomes a driving obsession or concern that that I take care of things, that my daughter knows how much I love her, and that we have all of our ducks in a row.
Part of taking care of things for Susan was getting disability insurance.
This is the letter that I got back from Nationwide. I was afraid that I would be denied the insurance, and it was my fears coming true.
The insurance company knew her father died of Huntington's, so included in the rejection letter was an unusual request.
They said that they would reconsider insuring me if I had a genetic test. And I have no intention of having a genetic test. It's just not so simple to just go find out, are you going to live or are you going to die? Young. It's scary. Very scary.
Kay and Dwayne Milioni were also denied insurance because of the family genes.
We live a very normal life,
Have no fear, said the cat.
except for this sort of dark secret, you know, that Cameron has.
That secret is aminoleukodystrophy, or ALD, a disease that can cause brain damage.
There's been a lot of publicity about it because of the Lorenzo's oil.
You show them what a big girl you can be and how you can use your spoon. If you've been tested, and that's in a doctor's file, that's going to become evident.
And when the Milioni's insurance company, State Farm, found out about the potentially fatal disease,
They canceled Cameron. They wouldn't cover him, even though because he had adrenal leukodystrophy, a genetic defect, and they found that out because they got the results of his testing. And I guess I can appreciate
Well, how did they
that.
get the results of the testing, though? From
From
another...
your doctor. They'll always ask you for information on the application. Have you been to a doctor lately? Who is your doctor?
Look at, there it is. Daniel and I don't believe it.
But State Farm didn't stop there. They also denied coverage for the Mayone's daughter, Victoria.
You're okay.
Even though tests showed she only had a 20% chance of having the defect. A defect that only seriously affects boys, not girls.
Worst case scenario, if she was a carrier, the symptoms would be minor, not requiring hospitalization. No.
When they canceled the coverage, State Farm didn't count on one thing. Kay wouldn't take no for an answer.
I made numerous phone calls.
Because Kay knew how the insurance bureaucracy worked. She's a former underwriter for the very company that refused to cover her children.
Within about 4 weeks, they were willing to cover her, but with an exclusion.
What did they exclude?
Any health implications as a result of her being a carrier for adrenal leukodystrophy would not be covered. She's not going to cost the company anything more than anybody else, more than a healthy, normal person.
But unlike a healthy, normal person, that exclusion will give other insurance companies an excuse to deny Victoria coverage. Maybe for the rest of her life.
These aren't isolated cases. One study by a noted geneticist suggests that thousands of families are discriminated against by insurance companies each year solely because of the existence or even just the suspicion of the existence of a genetic disease.
The purpose of today's meeting, as simply as I can express it, is to look at the implications of genetics for healthcare reform.
Dr. Tom Murray heads a task force funded by the Human Genome Project that deals directly with whether insurance companies have a right to our genetic information.
They're playing by the rules of the game that we've written. We need to rewrite the rules. I want to get rid of the motivation to not cover people for what they're most likely to need. The bottom line is we must have universal participation in healthcare in the United States.
There ought to be universal coverage for everyone. Cradle to grave, no pre-existing conditions, with no terminations, no cancellations. HIA supports that goal.
Harvey Raymond speaks for the Health Insurance Association of America.
If that is accomplished, genetic information, genetic testing really becomes almost a non-issue for individuals of the public.
But until health care reform is a reality, it's business as usual for the insurance industry.
Do you think insurance companies should have the right to have access to our most private information? That's the results of a genetic test?
We would have to say, sure, the insurance community should have the right to have that.
Bye, Julie. Thanks. Give me a kiss. I feel like the insurance companies are selecting for perfect people and who isn't at risk for something. I had already resolved that issue in my mind, that testing was not the right thing for me. I'm living as a normal person now, and I cherish and value the normalness of my life, and I can't think that I would be able to continue to be normal in the face of a positive test. I mean, that's what you have to do. You have to live. My mother, she taught me how to live. And my father probably taught me how to die. Gracefully, peacefully, normally. It's okay.
Turn the lights off. What do you consider to be the most important ethical questions in this work?
Many of the ethical questions relate to the general issue of genetic discrimination. We have a terrible history in this century of the idea that people's ethnic background, their genetics, could be used in a way to injure them.
Dr. Collins is director of the Human Genome Project.
And what's to keep a new Hitler, a new Stalin, from taking the kind of information that you and your marvelously talented colleagues are gathering and using it for all the wrong things?
I think in this country we can tend to be fairly optimistic that we can put safeguards in place to make whoever is doing that stop. I am concerned about that. I don't think one can sweep that under the rug. But I really get concerned when people say, well, then maybe you just shouldn't be doing this research because somebody might misuse it. There are people, I see them every day when I go to the clinic, who are suffering today in very real, terrible ways from genetic diseases, whose only hope is that research will come up with enough information about their disease to cure that disorder. And they are not particularly relieved by these discussions. They're in fact very alarmed that theoretical misuses of the information that could be life-saving for them might slow down or even stop the research. We can't hold those people hostage. That would be the most unethical course of all.
You have something of the fire syndrome, that fire can be destructive, but it can also be marvelously constructive.
Knowledge is like that. Genetics is no different. It's information. It's up to us as a world community to try to prepare for this coming revolution and maximize the way in which it's put to good and minimize the ways in which it's put to evil.
Mr. Brawley?
Yes.
Do you ever think about your HP LaserJet printer?
Not anymore. Before I bought it, I did.
What do you mean?
Well, I researched printers, and LaserJet gave me everything I wanted.
But now you say you don't think about it.
No, I don't have to. It works.
Oh, I see. It works for you and you ignore it. Is that fair?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We've seen it all before. LaserJet neglect.
Well, I have the same problem with plants.
HP LaserJet printers. You do your job, we'll do ours.
This Camel system is so adaptive, it can travel 50 miles in desert heat without taking fluid, making it one of the world's most dependable animals. This automobile system is so adaptive that if necessary for your safety, it is engineered to travel 50 miles in desert heat without a single drop of coolant, which might also tell you something about its dependability. The Seville STS with the North Star system by Cadillac, creating a higher standard.
Clorets turns food breath into fresh breath.
I have a slight problem with food breath. Table 6, breath boy. All done?
You like trivia? Don't speak. You know, even everyday foods like this tuna sandwich can really make your breath
horrible.
Try new Clorets, extra strength with Actazol.
Clorets turns food breath into fresh breath.
Any kids around, Aunt Jane?
Oh, sorry, Billy, not your age.
A little earlier, Jane Stewart was troubled with arthritis pain, so she took a Motrin IB. The same Motrin doctors have prescribed for years, but in non-prescription strength. And just one Motrin IB is as effective as 2 regular aspirin.
All right, kid. Let's see what you got.
Aunt Jane?
Come on.
Motrin IB, the relief of Motrin in non-prescription strength. Now available in a new, easy-to-open, fast cap package.
If you've been putting off refinancing your home because of all the hassle, call the Money Store. All it takes is a phone and just 20 minutes. Even if your credit is less than perfect, you can refinance. Call the Money Store at 1-800-LOAN-YES. Speed and follow through. It works for the Money Store too. You can refinance your home in just 7 business days, even if your credit is less than perfect. Call 1-800-LOAN-YES.
There are only 2 babies like this in the entire country. Andrew Gobea and Zachary Riggins.
Good one. Do you want to play some music? Did you pick Aladdin? I believe in miracles, and that this would come along in their lifetime is a miracle to me. There. You want to go?
Last year, Lori Riggins' son Zachary was genetically altered. The goal was not to make Zach a super baby, but to give him something he didn't get at birth, a chance to live a normal life.
It brings hope where there's no hope. You think about these boys, it breaks my heart to think that they would have to live their entire lives dealing with a disease.
Zachary suffers from a disease called SCIDS, severe combined immune deficiency. If that name doesn't mean anything to you, this may. A few years ago, Zachary would have been a boy in a bubble, living in a completely sterile environment, because Zach was born without any kind of immune system.
I had seen the movie The Boy in the Plastic Bubble with John Travolta in it. Little did I know watching the movie that one day I would grow up to have children like that.
You want to push him ready? Lori and her husband Richard never knew they were both carriers of the gene for SCIDS. It's such a rare disorder that prospective parents are not routinely screened for it. What is the chance that the 2 of you would both have this recessive gene, would meet, fall in love, and get married?
Oh, it's us. Obviously, it's probably like hitting the lottery, and we're, you know.
And that luck continued into their marriage.
We gotta get you weighed.
Couples who are carriers have a 1 in 4 chance of having a baby with skids.
Oh, Zachary!
In the Riggins case, 2 out of their 3 children have it. Rhett, now 3½, and Zachary. But Zachary got something at birth that wasn't available to Rhett. Gene therapy, a procedure that may completely cure Zachary of skids.
It's correcting a glitch in the program, I guess would be the way to think of it, that the genetic program that tells T cells how to grow up has an error in it. And so we're trying to fix their broken program and allow them to grow up so they can fight infection.
What Dr. Don Cohn and a team of doctors from the University of Southern California tried to do at Zachary's birth was to reprogram him genetically to artificially correct the gene he was born with. The brand new procedure can only be done at one time in a child's life, at birth.
At the time he was born, we then collected the blood from his umbilical cord, took the stem cells out of there, put the gene he was missing back into those cells, and gave him back the cells.
If it works, Zachary will begin to develop an immune system on his own. That takes at least a year or more. But if the procedure doesn't work,
Want to hold Grandma's hand?
this is what a child with skids faces for the rest of his life. A twice-weekly enzyme injection at home.
Good girl. Can you go sit in the big chair?
No.
And every month, a trip to the hospital for painful IV treatments.
The worst part is that I'm the mother and I'm giving an injection to my child.
Right now, this is the only thing keeping his older brother Rhett alive.
Without it, he would have to either go through a bone marrow transplant or live completely isolated in a bubble.
And there's another cost to Rhett's family.
It's scary when you see the bills come in and one single bill is for $18,000 and you know in 4 weeks you're going to get the same bill. It's quite, it's breathtaking actually.
And that's just for Rhett. As a precaution, Zachary is also getting the injections. The Riggins are hoping their medical insurance will hold out until they know whether Zachary is cured.
Usually medical procedures are a one-time deal, and then you can go on and say it worked or it didn't work. Well, with this, it's such a long process, and we're all learning patience through it all.
This is a typical molecular biology laboratory.
There is one man who has no doubt at all that gene therapy works.
Genes are the basis of most, if not all, diseases. Therefore, if you can correct the gene, you can cure the disease.
His name is Dr. French Anderson, and in his research lab in a corner of the USC Medical Complex in LA,
this is my hood. This is where I work. And,
he's dreaming of more than just a cure for skids.
The goal of gene therapy is preventive medicine. It is to prevent cancer. It is to prevent Alzheimer's. It's to prevent Parkinson's.
If you think this is just the fantasy of a scientist who has spent too much time in his lab, that's what many of his colleagues thought 30 years ago when he first started work on gene therapy.
Okay. Let us begin. Kathy?
But when you see an article about Zachary, doesn't that basically say you were right?
Yes, I mean, it is true that having been told for so many years how absolutely crazy the idea was and that it couldn't happen and it wouldn't happen and that I was a flake, I was weird, I was off the wall, I was all these various things. It is nice to have people all over the world doing gene therapy, yes. Each of these little beads are actually, in real life, it looks like this.
Anderson is still doing it his own way. And today, that means finding a way to inject corrected genes straight into an adult's bloodstream.
What you really want is to get genes the same way you'd get penicillin, the way you'd get insulin, just an injection. And that requires a whole new generation of development, and that's what this laboratory is doing.
How soon gene therapy will be available to the rest of us depends a lot on what happens to Andrew Gobea and Zachary Riggins.
You've got to be hoping. I mean...
of course we're hoping. We're hoping they're totally cured for life, of course. And if they are, then that's wonderful. But nature is tough, you know? I mean, nature doesn't just say, okay, you win.
At Zach's monthly checkup, the Riggins are hoping to hear some good news, that his corrected genes are duplicating themselves in his bloodstream.
This is good. I mean, he has about 1,100 T cells.
Dr. Melissa Elder has been tracking Zachary's progress.
It's not entirely normal for his age, but it's good. It's enough to give him immunity so that he doesn't have to be on isolation, for instance, and that we can feel comfortable that he can be out in public.
And then the big question then, are those cells being created just because of your enzyme therapy or the treatment he's getting, or is he doing it on his own?
I think at this point it's probably both.
I mean, that's got to be exciting.
It is exciting. It is very exciting. I'm excited. Look at you. I mean, it's not often you get a chance to cure someone of a genetic disease.
Zachy, are you cured? Is there something going on in there we don't know yet? Huh?
Look who's living in Archie's house now.
You had it too good all your life. You haven't seen enough of the pain and suffering in the neighborhoods where there ain't nothing for them kids to do except...
From the creator of All in the Family, there's an all-new family.
Don't make me hurt you, son.
704 Housing premieres Monday, April 11th.
Pull down the shades, turn down the lights. Don't make me baby, baby, not tonight. I'm ready for love. I've been so lonely, hearts have torn apart. Pick up the pieces of my broken heart. I'm ready for love.
The Nissan Altima has more front headroom than a Mercedes E320. It also has more rear headroom, more rear leg room, and more overall room. Yet it's priced $20,000 less, which means with this luxury sedan, you'll be able to add a room. The Nissan Altima. It's time to expect more from a car.
My friend Reba says, Cheryl, you gotta try Crispix. It doesn't end up tasting soggy and yucky. Yeah, like she knows. Oh, sure. It tastes terrific now, but once that milk soaks in, well, it'll never make it to the end.
Kellogg's Crispix cereal stays tasty to the end.
Okay, last bite. So what's it gonna taste like, porridge or mush? How do you like that? It still tastes fabulous. You know, Reba only had taste of men like she has in her cereal.
Clearly, this brave new world of gene mapping is one of both possibilities and peril. Already, genes have been found for some 600 medical conditions. Science might one day discover markers for everything from mental illness to drug addiction, an idea that has alarmed some ethicists. They fear such discoveries could lead to eliminating embryos with undesirable genes. In effect, genocide. I'm Dan Rather, and that's 48 Hours. Coming up next, your late local news. Eye to Eye will be here tomorrow night. Right now, here's a look ahead to our next report. Got spring fever?
This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sick and tired of it.
We have the cure.
Welcome to Street Rage!
Drink a little beer and have a lot of fun, show a lot of skin.
At least once, you gotta try it.
I'm looking for paradise. Have I arrived?
I think so.
After this winter, all we can say is,
like in heaven.
Give me a break. Next week.
Later, join Dave and his guests, comic actor Martin Short, actress Mary Stuart Masterson, and Van Halen's Sammy Hagar, all on tonight's Late Show with David Letterman. Mark McEwen here. Thanks for making CBS America's most watched network. Now, your local news.
For a transcript of this program, send $6 to 48 Hours Transcripts, Box 7, Livingston, New Jersey, 07039. And to order a VHS cassette of tonight's broadcast, call 1-800-338-4847.
CBS News.